Well, this morning, a 21-year-old will be appearing here at the Johannesburg Magistrate's Court, you would recall, after a gruesome finding at one of the chop shops here in the Johannesburg CBD. You'd recall on Sunday, one of the individuals in that particular area, which is quite full of warehouses, had heard a foul smell and was alerted to the body of a woman that had been lying in the passage inside this chop shop. When police were called to investigate that foul smell, they were taken to 5 other bodies also on the premises of that chop shop. We understand belonging to a man. Yesterday, I managed to speak to the father of the 21-year-old, who we understand will appear before this court this morning. He seemed to have been have appeared shocked in terms of what had taken place. So when SABC News arrived on the scene yesterday, forensics had still been taking samples on that particular area, as well as trying to investigate whether there are any other bodies in that particular area. Speaking to residents in that particular part, quite shocked about what had taken place, wanting answers, and of course this morning, what we do understand is that the 21-year-old, and I guess most of this is also what will come out from court as well, that the 21-year-old had been prying on sex workers in that particular area. Hence, you would see here behind me, and I'm just going to move just a little bit, you would see the Sisonke sex workers movement, national sex workers movement in South Africa, that is also a part of the protest here this morning, saying criminalization is a sin. You would recall that Sisonke has long been calling for the decriminalisation of sex work in South Africa. And I'm going to bring in one of, in fact, the spokesperson for it. Please come through, Katleho. And I know the rest of the media is also going to join us in just a moment for this interview as well. Katleho, thank you very much, Katleho Rasebitse, for your time. You're here this morning, and we understand a 21-year-old is going to appear in court for the killing of 6 women. What the details that we know at this stage or understand is that these were 6 sex workers. I don't know if you have more details on that. I understand you also spoke to the families of some of the victims. Some clarity from Sisonke would also go a long way in proper reportage.
Yesterday we managed to go to Hillbrow Mortuary, where 4 bodies were identified, and we use also the networks through sex workers themselves who are saying, Katleho, these are some of our friends who are also doing sex work, and only 2 bodies yet are not yet being identified because they are beyond decomposed. So some of the family, the cousins, were also called to go to John Foster, a police station, to make sure that the DNA samples has been taken, so that within a particular time, once forensic has done its work, then body will be allocated to the rightful families.
This is absolute devastation. We understand from those around the area that this seemed to have been someone who is alleged to have been prying on sex workers in that particular area. Now the discovery of sex.
Chriselda, this is the fruits of what we call criminalization of sex work. Where in a country like South Africa, we've got the best constitution in the world. We've got the best human rights plans, that was launched recently. But more than 60-something years right now, we still criminalize sex workers. And what hurts me most is like the whole law, it specifically focuses on women, especially black women, because most of the time when you see the police doing those arrests, they're specifically focusing on black women. And that on its own, it shows that as a country we haven't gone too far in terms of the law reform. Like yesterday I was also speaking to say, but when you even challenge the Law Reform Commission, Dellen Clark, who's a white privileged woman, has got the nerve to say, but to bring a 10-year-old report that we say, but we have been calling this for more than 20 years to say, can you therefore consider a black woman's plea to say, I want to enjoy the full benefits of my body, but it's hard for that to do. I'll tell you just something. In the very same country that we are, you'll never see police arresting white women. You'll never see police arresting men who are selling sex, but they always target a black woman. So that on its own, it shows that there's stigma. Like this morning at one radio show, they said, Katleho, we cannot interview you because you are a man. We needed a woman so that our story can have umsoko. I'm like, that's where the stigma started. For the fact that you still declare sex workers as women, then it shows that we need to sensitize the country. And I'm begging, since 2016, by then the deputy now is the country's president, Mr. Ramaphosa. 2016 in March, he made a call that we should find ways into call for decriminalization of sex work. It's been 8 years. The president has promised sex work something, but nothing, dololo. We are tired of the dialogue that has been happening. Each year, the Premier's office, provincial, each province, they're going to be calling dialogue to say, come, sex workers, the same story. The police did this to me. The police did that to me. At what point sex workers' voice will be listened? We're talking adults that are saying, they are consenting, my body, my business. I do this because of I want to survive. You know what hurts me most? Yesterday when I was with some of the families of the deceased sex workers, one of the daughters who's at school, I'm 11 years old. Can you tomorrow, if you go to court, I just want to see the face of that man. I need to remember that man the rest of my life. Because moving now, I don't know in November who's going to pay my school fees. This go deeper than you can think about. Yes, tragedy has happened, but if the law can be just a law, we're requesting a law reform. Remember, criminalization came in 1957. White people are the one who made sure that black people will not enjoy our rights in this country. And for the fact that men are not getting arrested who are doing sex work, but women are still being targeted by the police. You remember last year when DSD, Social Development Ministers, he clearly says the police in South Africa are using sex workers as ATMs. So this is like a cash cow. They know it's easy money because they know these women, they don't carry a gun, they don't carry a knife, they don't carry nothing.
What justice do you want to see? Some of the media will also come in now. What kind of justice do you want to see in this particular matter?
One of the justice that we want to see in this case is to make sure this guy must be a turning point in terms of the law reform. We're going to use this case to make sure that we make the biggest noise ever, regardless of these 6 women, when either sex workers or not, but we're talking women who are dead. This is a massacre in terms of the sex work industry. It's a blow. And if our politicians, they're going to be sitting wearing Gucci's and Louis Vuittons and arguing about who's taking what position, and they're playing the reshuffle game. Come 2024, when the gender-based and femicide plan says that sex work must be decriminalized, it's only a time frame. We are not sure. Now they're going to the biggest conference in the country. It's coming in December. I won't mention because I want to give them credit. It's coming in December. Anything might happen. They're going to still say the resolution from this conference, it says the sex work should be considered to be decriminalized. I was with COSATU when they were launching their gender inauguration plan. Where I challenge COSATU that COSATU, you've been keeping quiet on sex work, but it's there in your resolution to say you want to see sex work being decriminalized. At one point, somebody needs to be held accountable to say, but who do we hold accountable? Because it might come that by December, Ramaphosa might be out. The new president might come with his new cabinet. We're starting from scratch again to say, at what point are the voices of women that are getting murdered, that are getting raped, that the police also are preying on them, they're going to be listened to?
I understand, Kaseko, you were with the families yesterday. How are they doing? And maybe also tell us if any sex workers have come forward around the harassment around this particular gentleman.
So now the more sex workers, after the identification of bodies yesterday, then we went with some of the sex workers to the police so that they can also go to the crime scene, because there are also those who survived, like they've got scars to say, this particular man did this, you see this scar, this particular man. So we will also say, we are encouraging them to say, come forth, bring your stories, we believe in you. Then that's what the investigation is going to be telling, because we are suspecting, because based on what we heard yesterday, it's more than 13 women that are missing. So out of 13, only 6 is being identified. So moving forward, we asking every woman, regardless, let's all put our moral and gender and religion and culture on the floor. Women are being murdered for survival and meat in South Africa.
Katlego, thank you very much indeed. Katlego Rasebetse, who is of course speaking on behalf of the National Sex Workers Movement here in South Africa. He says that sex workers do not feel safe in this country. And you'd recall, of course, that he's saying now that given that there are 6 bodies that have only been found, the accusation at this particular point is that the 21-year-old who is appearing in court this morning, they allege may be behind several other instances where they say there are multiple other women that are still still missing. I guess many of these details, of course, would come out from inside court. But what they're calling for as a movement is to say that South Africa needs to decriminalize the sex work. It is a conversation that has been had in the country for quite a long time at this particular point. So we're expecting court proceedings to get underway this morning. They are here to support, the families of those who lost their loved ones. Katlego also indicating that they managed to speak to the families of those who had passed away, and they're really just calling for justice in this particular matter. But what we do know at this particular stage is that the allegation is that this 21-year-old had been prying on quite a number of sex workers in that particular area. But I guess we'll hear from police in terms of whether they're investigating the possibility that there may be more bodies, or whether they're investigating more people that have come forward in terms of those that may be missing. Those are certainly details that will emerge from the courts. We must also apologize for some of the use of the strong language. Unfortunately, we're not able to manage that as we are live, but we'll go inside court and bring you the latest once it gets underway.